started off as a boy in primary school, obviously. We had a fantastic teacher in primary school, Mr. Deaney, and he developed me as he could see a bit of talent in me, and I was the first boy that ever played, got a game in the school team as a grade 4. So all the other kids only ever got a game in grade 5 or 6, but I got a game in grade 4, so I was pretty good as a young kid right from the start. I didn't start playing. They didn't have junior comps very much in the early days, but in the East Ringwood under 16s, I started playing with them as a 13-year-old, and I got a bit better and better, and then they changed to the under 17s, and they made me the captain of the under 17s, which I won the best and fairest in, and I represented the Eastern Districts Football League against the Federal League in that. I also became runner-up to Warwick Irwin, who played a couple of hundred games for Fitzroy, and he beat me in the competition award in that year. Following year, I played for East Ringwood Seniors, and playing against men taught me a bit, because I'd always played against boys before. But Essendon were after me. They recruited me, and I went to Essendon and started playing the under 19s. That year I played all right. I played full back, and I won the best and fairest in the Essendon under 19s. Then I went into senior football. So from 1970 to 71, 72, I played 11 games in the seniors and about 40 in the seconds. Never really had enough confidence in myself, I don't think. I probably had the ability, but having always been a fan of Essendon, I was pretty mad keen, and I used to think I wasn't good enough to be with those blokes, the likes of Graham Moss and Ted Fordham and Jeff Blevin and some of the stars that they had there in those days, and Alan Noonan. So I always felt a little bit unsure of myself and not really at home, because I didn't think I was quite good enough to be there. So after the 4 years there, I was had no more future there. I was moved on a bit, and Hobart came chasing. They were offering a few dollars to play down there, and I thought it'd be a nice way for my wife and I to get away from Melbourne and start our own life without interference from family, etc. So we went down there, and I did very well in Tasmania. Won the best and fairest for Hobart, and played in all the representative sides for the TFL against the NWFU and the NTFA, and I even got a game with Tasmania against Victoria. I won the best and fairest at Hobart, and I came runner-up in the William Leach Medal against with Trevor Sorrell from South Australia. He won it, but I was told by a local bloke there in Hobart that he had been speaking to an umpire called Umpire Manson, and he said that he was going to give me 3 votes one game, but he didn't give me any because I was the best, but I wasn't the fairest. So if I had to keep my mouth shut, I probably would have won the medal there. Anyway, it's a bit of bad luck. After the 3 years in Hobart, we had our first baby had come along, and my wife was feeling a little bit homesick and a little bit isolated there in Tasmania with no family or anything. So we packed our bags and came back to Melbourne. Somehow or other, Russell Withers, the chairman of selectors at Camberwell, had got wind that I was coming back, so he wrote me a nice letter inviting me to come and train at Camberwell. I had no other places offering me anything, and I thought, well, that's okay. If they want me, I'll go and give them a go. And turned out to be one of the best things I'd ever done, because Camberwell was a terrific club, and had a lot of success there as well. We won a couple of premierships and played off in another grand final, which we got beaten in. I had played in the representative sides for the VFA against in Adelaide against South Australia, and also in Tasmania down in Launceston. I played against the Tasmanian team down there, and also played a game at Sandringham against the amateurs. So I had quite a few representative games for the VFA as well. always, having started my career at East Ringwood, I wanted to give a little bit back to them because they'd been good to me. So I always wanted to finish off at East Ringwood. So I went back there for the last couple of years and finished my career there. But unfortunately, one of the in the training drill, one of the seconds guys ran through me and buggered me knee up. So it wasn't such a good end at East Ringwood, but that's the way it was. So that was in 1984 when I finished. That's about it. As a footballer, people either loved or hated me. If they were barracking for my team, they loved me because I gave everything. I left nothing in the bag. I tried to win at all costs. But the opposition people used to hate me, and I was belted by an umbrella by an old woman at Frankston one time when they had the order off rule. I was walking around the boundary line after I'd been ordered off, and she gave me a good old whack with an umbrella. And also my wife used to suffer a bit too, because she'd sit up in the grandstand and the opposition would be going crook at me, and she'd turn around and say, "Excuse me, that's my husband." But it's made it a bit hard for her sometimes because she used to cringe at what I used to do. But I was only, there's no maliciousness or anything in the way I played. I was just trying to win. And I always used to think that the umpires were against me too, because they used to try and stop me from winning. I used to think, I'm trying to get the ball and trying to win for our team, and you're just trying to stand in my way. And I used to have a bit of trouble with umpires as well for that reason. Probably they didn't like the way I played too much. But as I say, I was always did the best that I could. Yeah, I used to get used in quite a few different roles at Camberwell. Sometimes they didn't really have the right players for the certain positions, or someone was injured or whatever, so they sort of used me as the go-to man to fill in different spots that they were in trouble with. One particular game I remember, Gary Hammond was he had this particular fullback who used to go the knuckle on him all the time, and he knocked him out a couple of times, I believe, and Gary was a little bit wary about playing on the guy, and obviously we didn't want him to get injured again because we needed him desperately for our finals campaign. So they put me at full forward to play on this guy and try and sort him out a bit. But nothing happened much because he was a bit scared of me and I was a bit scared of him, I suppose. So we just played the game without any trouble, but at least it saved Happy from getting hit. All I was ever interested in was the back line, where I was playing. What the forwards did was up to them. That was something out of my control. There was good players up there, and I knew they could kick goals, and it was my job to stop the other team from getting goals and to try and feed the ball up to them, to give them the opportunity. So we had Greg Spittle, Colin Judd and myself, and also Neil Chamberlain. He was in the centre. He used to come in and help us in the back line. And with us four experienced, good, hard players, we could, the younger guys like Steve Teakle and Mark Hipworth and Drew Pevitt, Roy Carl, those guys, still a lot of them came up through the seconds and that, and they'd never played tough, hard footy like we were used to playing, and they rose to the occasion. They saw the way we were playing, and they copied, and they were fantastic, the young guys. Yeah, looking back now from 34 years gone, it seems a long time ago, and I was a bit surprised when I got the call from Dave to do this, because it's all sort of dim, dark history. So I had to do a little bit of studying and go through the lists again and that to try and remember it all. But it just makes you realise what a great time it was. But it's only you're never going to meet a bunch of blokes like that and have such success. I played a lot of football and hardly ever won any premierships, and to win playing three premierships and win 2 of them in 5 years was just a fairy tale. So we all bathed in our glory, and we loved it. Yeah, well, as I said, I've never played in. I've played in a few grand finals, but never won them. So to win those two was fantastic. And Oakley, we did well to beat them because they were a very good opponent, and it wasn't easy to beat them. But in '81, I think we sort of had Waverley's measure pretty much, and it was only just if we had lost that, it would have been wouldn't have been good because we should have won it. We were a better side. And just looking back, I think we deserved to win both of them. We're the better team, definitely. Whereas in '78, I think Frankston were a better side than us. We were a good. If we had beaten Frankston, it would have been a bit of an upset. But the other two games, we deserved to win. Yeah. Rather, I suppose everyone's always got regrets of what you could have done and should have done and this and that, but I obviously could have done better at it when I was at Essendon. I never really got myself fit enough. That was my main problem. I was trying to juggle being an apprentice and finishing work at 4:30 and then trying to get out to the ground by 5:30 and driving through the traffic from Hawthorn out to Essendon and trying to get your gear on, and then half the guys would already be out there and they've already warmed up, and then I'm trying to join in the training and I haven't warmed up properly, and it's just I should have done more away from the ground, but I had a girlfriend and I like to drink and have a bit of fun as well, so probably wasn't quite dedicated enough to be a top AFL player. I think you've got to give your whole heart and soul to it, and I had other things on my mind that I wanted to do as well. Yeah, the guys that really inspired me were the ones that they did the hard things. Neil Chamberlain, for one, he was hard and tough. Never give in, never. And Greg Spittle was a bit the same. He was a bit more steady. Juddy, he was even though he was a bit smaller, he couldn't really meet it with handle it with the big guys and that. But he picked up the Rovers, and he did a good job. Squeaker Stevenson, very flamboyant sort of player. He's did some spectacular things and take the big marks, and very showy, and it really looked good. The crowds loved all that. Obviously, Happy Hammond. He only played a couple of years. He was just about finished in his career when I came there, but I saw him do some beautiful things and take some fantastic marks in that. The rest of the team, Mick Alexif, he was pretty good in his day. Most of the people were fairly workmanlike. There wasn't too many, really show-out players amongst them, but everyone had their job and they all did it well. Probably the best guys that I played against was Fotheringham from Yarraville. He was a strong guy. He was fast and a good mark. And the other guy was Adrian McClure from Waverley. He was they're both taller than me, probably 6'4", and fast. And Kim Smith from Paran. Most guys I could beat one-on-one, except if they were a lot taller than me, and if they could outmark me with the extra height. I used to enjoy playing on ruckman, because sometimes I'd drop back to the back pocket on a big ruckman, and I'd always fancy myself to beat them because all I had to do was spoil the mark, and then I could always beat them on the ground. But Freddie Cook too. I had played a couple of games against him, but he was just sort of a stand there and mark and lead. You didn't have to use much pace or anything against him. He used to push you in the back half the time, and he used to seem to get away with it. The umpires used to give him 3 or 4 goals a game, I reckon, from that he didn't really deserve. And the same thing, I played against Peter Hudson a lot in Tasmania. He was the captain coach of Glenorchy, and I remember one game in particular. It was at King George Oval at Glenorchy, and he kicked 10 goals on me. and that was like in the World of Sport on the TV the next day. They gave him 3 votes and they gave me 2 votes because he and I were the only 2 players in the whole half of the ground. He forced all these. He was the captain. He said, "Get out." Everyone had to go back to the centre line, and then there was just me and him. And even though he got 10 goals on me, I still played a good game and got a lot of kicks and cleared the ball a lot. So that was very different in those days with the way Hudson used to control his team. Yeah, to be named in the team of the century, that was a real accolade. I wasn't expecting that because over 100 years it must have been a lot of better players than me. But obviously it's only because it's in the living memory of people, and you don't know how good the old guys were. But to be put in there it's a real achievement for me, and I'm really proud of that. Also with Bluey and Squeaker and Juddy, Barney. Yeah, it's good teammates, and every one of them deserved to be in there, and just loving it. Even though I was on the bench, and there was a lot of stars. I loved it. You'd love to see all that team play together and just see what they really could do. Just a little finishing note on the what I thought of the tribunal, because I used to get turn up there probably once a year, being reported. And that one particular time, I was guilty of sin. I had a bit of a run-in with a bloke, and we both hit each other. And the umpire booked us, and we turned up on the Tuesday night, I think it was, for the tribunal. And lo and behold, the tribunal, they weren't angry at me. They were angry at the umpire. And I think, what's going on here, And so they concocted how you'd put all this evidence in wrong and done it all wrong, and everything was wrong what he'd done. And so they let me off on a technicality. But the true thing why they did it was because they needed me to play in the combined team in Adelaide the following weekend, and they wanted me to be the fullback in the team. So yeah, they're a bit fickle like that.
You've given your heart to get here and your soul to get it right. You can take 'em boots and all, but it's sure gonna take a fight. When you spend all week getting to your peak, you're gonna have your say. You bet. On Sunday, it's gonna be a fight. It's Sunday, you're gonna make your fight for the BFA. Today you're gonna fly. It's Sunday for the BFA. It's Sunday, yes Sunday. It's Sunday for the BFA. It's Sunday.